ethos or and a good mission to democratize these. It's unfortunate that it happened to be LARPs, and we would like to stand out from those guys and actually deliver the product, which is also why um, we made sure that we tested our product in production before actually telling anybody about it. So we've been building this for quite a while, and with a very skilled technical team. And before even talking about anyone, we wanted to make sure that it actually works. Because it's one thing to start talking about your product and saying you're going to build something um, when you either or haven't started yet or not entirely sure if you're able to finish it. And I think the last part is most important because if you build a community around a product that you're about to deliver, it's pretty important to be quite confident that you're able to deliver the actual product and for people to use. So we definitely learned from the other projects that way, that we made sure that our main USP, which is the MEV bot, was tested and actually worked. So, um, firstly, that being said, your first question was, what's an MEV bot actually? Correct?
Yes.
Awesome. I think you touched on it a little bit because Jared um,
Yeah,
extracts
I
like a
did, but
lot
I
of
mean,
yeah,
like what does that even mean? Like, how does that happen? I think a lot of people, I mean, they're like very tech savvy degens out there, obviously,
mhm,
and then there are those people that just, they try and buy something on Uniswap, it doesn't work, and then they put more slippage and it doesn't work, and at some point they put, I don't know, 30% slippage, and then they end up
uh,
buying
yeah,
with 30% loss, right? So maybe give us a
yeah.
rundown of what that means.
I'll I'll walk through the entire process and in a simplified manner. So basically, what happens is if someone wants to buy or sell tokens on Uniswap, for instance, they send a transaction, they press buy or press sell, and they send a transaction and communicate it. It ends up with the block builders. Now, two things can happen. It depends on what RPC they are using. There are MEV blockers, which are basically private transaction, and no one sees your transaction except for the particular block builder. Um, and the second one is public transaction, which is the standard method which most people use. What happens with public transaction is if you send that particular transaction into the ethos, I would say, it ends up in the mempool. It gets saved first before it's offered to block builders. It's in a temporary waiting room, I would say. And anybody, the block builders, etc., can check into this mempool, but to see the data of those transactions. But it's a public area, so anybody that has access to the blockchain and nodes uh, can tap into this information. So what happens is bots like Jared, for instance, they read these transactions as well. Now, in these transactions, the user sends particular data, what contract they want to interact with, like what token to buy, how much ETH to spend, gas usage, but also what the minimum price is they would accept before the transaction reverts and fails. Now, that's where the slippage comes in. So if you have 10% slippage, basically you are sending your transaction saying, okay, this is the current price, and I will accept a 10% slippage in there. So a worse price actually. So you would accept less tokens. What happens is these bots like Jared and like ours uh, sees these transactions and calculates if it makes sense to send a bundle of two transactions, basically facilitating the minimum price or the minimum tokens that user wants to receive. So you send a buy transaction first, let the swap happens to move the price, let the swap happen, and get a sell transaction right after it in the same block. And what ends up is extractable value, which was the slippage, and that's the profit minus gas fees. And that's basically the process of these MEV bots. Now, there are a lot of transactions that are available for this type of MEV, and the competition is quite fierce. So what happens is that the MEV bots, like Jared's not the only one. There are dozens or hundreds of them. What happens is they um, send a transaction and they offer a high reward to the block builder. So they send their transactions and they are okay with a penny in profit, for instance, and paying a lot of the gas fees to the block builder just to be first. They don't really care about how much profit they make. It's just the sheer number of transactions that they propagate through their system and with their bot that ends up into high profits.
Interesting. So does this need a lot of computing power, or like, how do you make that happen so it's fast enough so you can actually front run somebody? And second question, do you always scan all tokens, or how do you actually know where to place, that order? I mean, is your bot always like looking at certain MEF pools or off all MEF pools? How does that work?
So it requires an infrastructure and run a node or subscribe um, to node services like blocks root or uh, there a chain stack is one for instance. There are several, and you would obviously the if you run your own node, um, uh, higher better infrastructure would, would be beneficial for latency within your own bot. And in terms of scanning the mempool, basically on the buy side, you run the entire blockchain, for instance. You get all the blocks and all the data. So you basically scan all the contracts that are available. And on the buy side, you would also always have wrapped Ethereum on balance for the buy side. So basically, you can target any token that's available. On the sell side, you can scan the contracts, but you need token balance to actually perform these type of math transactions.
Interesting. So that means every token that you will end up like going after, you actually have to have a position in,
If
obviously.
on the sell side, yes. On the buy side, you don't.
Okay.
On the
So
buy, because you
I-
would
I've I've
basically
seen I've seen sandwiches that are on that sandwich buys, but I've also seen sandwiches that do the negative one. So let's say I try to sell something and I have excessive slippage, I'm gonna get meffed, meaning someone shorts before I get to fill my a sell order. Does your bot do that too?
yes.
That's
If you
what you
have
mean by
balance,
sell order,
yeah.
by
If you
sell
have
side.
balance on the contract of that particular token, exactly. And some of these bots target specific tokens if they meet certain parameters. So they would actually have to buy balance of the token, um, which is in our opinion highly capital inefficient and uh, is you would carry induced risk um, by doing so because anything can happen with a token. If you have wrapped Ethereum and target the buy side, it's relatively safe. Um, but if you target random tokens, you would have to buy tokens, and then in a certain time frame, you would obviously have to offset your investment in profits. And yeah, I think we're all in the space where we're active on certain tokens. It's not always um, guaranteed that the token survives for very long. So
Right,
it could
right, right.
it's yeah, you carry extra risk.
Interesting. Okay. So thank you. I think that's a good overview of what a MEF does. So the second question is that I have gotten quite a bit from, other friends and investors is,
Mhm.
do, do, do you actually, is it actually working? Because a lot of people, and we touched on that in the beginning where we said, oh, it's probably a LARP. A lot of people saying it's a LARP. Uh, Nobody in their right mind would actually democratize this kind of service and give it out, you know, essentially for other people. So how can we know that what you're doing is actually going to work?
Mhm. Well, we'll be showcasing to demoing our bot to uh, key partners in the next few days. We've been testing for quite a while, and uh, we have on-chain data of these transactions of the bot actually working. I've showcased to the the influencers and partners how that works. Went into specific. We have a particular long-term partner um, that has gotten quite a lot of details and insight into the infrastructure and the bot and on-chain transactions, etc. I'm sure I sent you a message of a particular example of the of a sandwich transaction.
Oh yeah, do you mind me sharing that? Can I go ahead and
Sure.
drop that?
Yeah. Yeah.
One sec, let me just find it. There you go. I'm just gonna drop a screenshot here.
So
So
the
this is an interesting one because it's not just like one transaction, but it's actually multiple transactions being sandwiched, right?
exactly. Yeah, and this actually leads kind of into I'll describe this a little bit, and it leads into why democratize it and share it around. I'll see with the picture right here. So basically, we had token balance of this particular token, and what happened was that uh, we've bot spotted specific sell transactions and was able to sell the tokens and buy back the tokens. And in this particular case, we were testing with um, different balances in and output of the token for parameters in using the MEV bot for users. So it sold a specific amount of token and bought back slightly less. But this was a very good one, and it was um, about $300 profit on this specific trade. Um, Now, that kind of leads into what I was saying earlier, that on the WETH side, um, there's a lot of competition. So a lot of MEV bots are okay with just a penny profit. So that they pay most of it in gas fees. Now, on the token side, there's less competition. So that opens up for um, higher profit margins, and you would be able to use less gas. Um, Leading into the rest where um, why share it to the public, I'll go through 4 points. There are four main reasons to uh, share this to the public. First one is we think it's right to do so and fair to do so. However, right and fair doesn't feed the village if you stay into Web3 term. So the second one is capital efficiency. Capital efficiency, if you check out that there are more opportunities on the token side with increased profit margins, but you would have to target a lot of tokens. How many active tokens are there with okayish volume that are able to target? Imagine if you would have to buy $1,000 in each of those tokens and hope to offset those costs within a reasonable time frame. It's highly capital inefficient. Um, so if you would democratize the tool and allow users to um, use the tokens that they are buying anyway with their sniper or trader and use their tokens in the MEV bot and have a performance fee that you would um, circle back into the ecosystem. It's way more capital efficient because the tokens are bought anyway by the users and just used within the bot. In that regard alone, it just makes sense on a capital efficiency uh, perspective. The third one is for competition. If you check other MEV bots, what they do, they don't just single out one specific transaction. If you see what Jared is doing, he's combining multiple transactions or multiple swaps or sandwiches in a single transaction. Now, if you would compare that to a democratized MEV, even though Jared is doing other stuff as well in their transaction, but if you would just in the basic compare that to a democratized MEV, imagine if Jared is targeting 5 sandwiches in one transaction, and we are targeting 10 specific tokens of 100 users, and in this block there are 10 opportunities. We would be able to include 10 transactions, 10 sandwich transactions into one, and Jared is doing 5. Who do you think is able to offer more gas rewards to the block builder and get included in the block? We would be able to target the 10 of the users, but we're also targeting the same ones that Jared is targeting. So basically, it's in terms of competition and just offering more economically interesting block rewards to the block builders. It just makes sense to get as wide as possible with opportunity scanning. So it's capital efficient, and you get more opportunities. And by doing so, if you're more competitive and you can target more transactions, you can also on this exact same transactions that Jared is targeting, you can widen up your profit margins. There's no need to just take a penny of profit. You can widen it up because you are already offering a more competitive bundle to the block builder. And the fourth one, to democratize, that's the last one, and that's more for an ecosystem and a project perspective. Um, sure, you can run a MEV bot solo and try to compete with what the others are doing and accept the capital inefficiency, get a lot of capital, just target all the tokens, try to be more competitive that way. And you would, let's say, you would compete with Jared head to head that way. Um, Jared makes millions in a year. I think the top month was when the Peppy hype was, and uh, let's benchmark it at 1 million a month, for example. But if you compare that to Maestro, Maestro made like $25 million. If you see what Unibot is making in revenue, or Banana, etc., it's just a it's just from a profit perspective, it's a way better business model to combine it. It's a smart decision. So you would have capital efficiency, better competition, and you make more money if you combine it with a sniper. And in addition to that, as a final note, if your users are making more money and you have users with bigger balances, they make money from the MEV, they get more competitive with the sniper because we combine those obviously as well. Uh, if your users are having more money, they generate more volume, which ends up in more fees. It just just the truth. Those are the main reasons why democratizing MEV is just a smart business decision.
Yeah, that sounds very. Can you hear me? Yeah?
Mhm.
Hello?
I hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I muted myself or not. That's the exact answer I was looking for. And, we're gonna be going into the sniper later on in the week. We're going to
Mhm.
talk about all of these points. We will talk about, revenue share and what that actually means for people that hold the token and use the technology. We're going to talk about scalability and how it actually can be done, what SirPT is pitching here. And we're going
Yeah.
to look at a whole bunch of different um, showcases that Serpent will show during these next 2 weeks on our VCs. So make sure that you always tune in, because it's going to get very, very exciting. So one thing that we did announce on Twitter that we wanted to share is some screenshots of the UI, how the UI looks. So there's obviously still work being done. Um, the team has different teams working in parallel to make sure that everything is going to get ready very soon. And so the graphic team is preparing the UI right now, and then there's a the backend team is working on the blockchain stuff, and so then everything has to be knitted together, and then it will be available for everyone before long. So here I'm going to drop some screenshots of what the UI may look like. Most likely will look like this. There will be some, you know, slight minor changes probably, but this is basically what we're looking at. Just to give you a brief overview of what the UI will look like and what is being worked on. There you go. Okay, so throughout this whole time while we're talking, you're always welcome to post questions in the main chat. And so the way we were thinking about this is we're going to do 2 days of a topic. So today and tomorrow will be around MEF project, the MEF bot. And then the third day we can spend with questions, community questions, whatever questions you have, so collect them, tag an admin. So, the admins can actually collect those questions. And then the third day we go into those questions. And then after 3 days, we hop over to the next pillar of the business. And then after that, next 3 days, we're going to hop over to the next pillar of the business. So this is going to be very exciting. I'm very happy to do this. And I think, Sir PT, you had an announcement to make, and then we actually hit the half an hour. And I'm very proud that we actually stayed within half an hour. Everybody's time is very valuable, and we don't want to take too much time. So let's see what the announcement is.
Should we do it today or wait till tomorrow? No,
The
I'm just
announcement?
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, you
Absolutely.
can't, don't do that to me.
I think we have a very great announcement because we feel that we're truly building a legitimate product that could change the space, and that's what we set out to do. And it only makes sense to attract the partners that um, can help scale to the levels that we want to reach. And since we just launched, I think it's a great time to start out with the announcement of a partner that has been onboarded. We're very thrilled to announce that uh, our strategic advisor that has been onboarded is Simon Rickmanspoel, general partner at North Node Capital. Has been our strategic advisor for months now. I've communicated quite a bit with Simon. He's very knowledgeable, very experienced in multiple business ventures, and we're very pleased to have him. And we're very much looking forward to a much longer collaboration and taking this project to the level that it deserves.
That's awesome, dude. Welcome, Simon. That is fantastic. That is really, really good. What, maybe say what that means. Because I mean, partnerships are great. We see a lot of Twitter posts and all of that stuff about partnerships, but what does this partnership actually contain?
It's two things mainly. It's a strategic advisory position for Simon personally, and he has advised us on all type of strategic ideas and how to uh, bring the product to market, how to scale up further. Also, with his experience as a VC and general partner at North Node Capital, um, they will be able to open up doors that otherwise would have remained closed, make introductions, and uh, much more. But I can sure that Simon's in the chat right now. I'm sure he's able uh, to delve a bit more in that. And if you check out the background of Simon will be posting shortly. Uh, You'll be able to make your own deductions of uh, what this partnership.
So Simon, if you want to say something, you're welcome to jump on air. He needs a minute. That's fine. We'll bridge a minute, no problem. I think as a very interesting little side note, if you guys want to play detective and go head over to Etherscan and look at some of the top wallets that are holding, you're going to see some very large VC wallets that are actually holding this token. And well, guess what? Simon is involved with them. So I think it will open up a lot of doors to, VC money in general, which is quite exciting. But bridging the conversation before Simon comes in, and I'm going to unmute him because I'm not sure if he's able to unmute himself.
Yeah,
The
I'm
Oh,
here.
okay, okay,
Hey,
great. Well,
sorry,
go
I'm
ahead.
in Singapore.
The
It's
stage is all
4:30
yours.
a.m. and my wife was sleeping, so I had to run away
Oh boy,
to not
oh
wake
boy.
her up. No worries. Hey guys, happy to be here.
Hey, great to have you, man.
Okay, I'll
So,
dive into a bit.
if you want to, introduce something about, I don't know, whatever's interesting about,
Yeah,
what you bring to the table, that'd be
yeah,
interesting to hear.
yeah, sure. Question we get most, of course, from North Node Capital is what kind of projects are we looking for? What are we looking at? And usually my answer is, first of all, it's crypto based. So it has to be crypto focused. That's what we love. The crypto fund, hybrid fund. And another part that I like is has to be for the users. So users have to be able, have to like it, use it. And a lot of the times these things come with, of course, revenue. So anything that creates revenue is usually interesting for users. So in this case, I liked it. I remember the call I had with the founders, the first meeting. I love the idea. I understood it completely. How they can explain it very simply on what they are doing, how far they were along. That was just one of the things that I completely agree with. Yeah, with a few of the other guys that are involved. That this is really, yeah, it's an amazing idea, amazing project, and how far along they are already. It's definitely something that we want to support. So what we're going to do from North Node on is look indeed for all the partners, all the right people that they need for making this into a success. So
Well,
that's in
that's
short.
perfect, right? Thank you very much for that short and
Welcome.
strong introduction. Love it. So, great announcement, great overview. Like I said, everybody should check out Etherscan and snoop around those top wallets a little bit because it's quite interesting what you're going to find. If you look at the chart, I mean, we had such an amazing launch, right? It just pumped straight to close to 3 million. It was quite amazing, topped out a little bit. It wasn't sold off, yeah, and it just kept just like tingling a little bit for like 1 or 2 days, and then boom, another pump, boom, another pump, and now we're close to all-time high at 5 million, probably, maybe we're gonna break it very soon. Exciting because you're gonna see, and we're gonna post some data in the chat right now. You're gonna see that most people are very handling this, which is, it shows there's a lot of trust. It also shows that the team has access to people that don't necessarily need the money, but they're happy to hold the floor. And whenever it dips, they buy more, which shows it's not your average shitcoin. There's a lot of people behind it that want it to succeed and are holding that down. So, a chart like this has its own story. If you read charts, you know that. And I'm very excited to be part of this journey. So thank you, sir, PT, for the great introduction today. Thanks, Simon. Thanks, and a shout out to everybody I know. I'm glad you're all here. Thanks. I love you very much. Thanks, Ra. Great first call. I loved it. Thanks, CRG. Thanks, Fundamentals. Thanks, Cert. Thanks, everybody that is here that I know and treasure very much. And we talk tomorrow. We're gonna announce the time, in a little bit, and then we'll talk tomorrow again about everything else. Okay. And post your
Okay, Bert,
questions if you have any.
thank you very much. Thanks everyone for being here and being interested in the project that we're building. Awesome.
Mavit, baby.